Hey everybody, with Kyle Henderson, I'm Mick Gillispie. Welcome to Bama Insider and BamaInsider.com. We appreciate you guys being here. This is on our YouTube channel, which is as hot as Alabama's football program right now, man. We appreciate all of you guys making us a dynasty. We're over 50,000 subscribers. And it's because of you. We appreciate you more than you know. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe as you hang out with us for the show tonight, and make sure you come back because we're going to have plenty of Alabama football coverage. If you want to know about the latest on the basketball program, which is poised for a run in the NCAA tournament, football, which is getting ready for the 8A game, Nick Saban's got these boys cruising, or maybe you just want to know recruiting, all of it available at BamaInsider.com. He's Kyle Henderson, the managing editor of Bama Insider. I'm Mick Gillispie. Really glad to have all you guys with us. What's up, Kyle?
What's up, man? I mean, 50,000 strong. Holy cow. It's pretty incredible. I think that, when we started this channel out, we could only dream to get to 50,000. And now we're like sights set on 100,000, right? We want to fill up Bryant-Denny. It was pretty exciting news recently when Alabama was like, hey, we're gunning for a full slate, full capacity. And I love it. I think that, kind of listening to Mel Kiper, and you can listen to that interview that we put on our YouTube channel. He said that Alabama has such a professional approach when it comes to, the football program and how they're able to navigate through the season, 13 games without anything being canceled. I know there was some postponements, but in terms of that professional approach, and then Alabama kind of coming out first and saying, hey, we want to, we at least intend to play, with 100,000 in the stadium. We intend to have, back to school, and, you got to be aggressive. You got to navigate around really anything that's thrown in your life. So I like it, and happy to be here after 50,000 subscribers. And now, now in the month of March, it's spring football is here. Alabama starts spring practice on March 19th. And, there's a lot to dive into. And of course, the basketball team has been doing fantastic. So, as I look at my calendar, which is completely full, as usual, we got Selection Sunday. We got, I'm already looking when the first round will take place for the basketball team, and, SEC basketball tournament. So it doesn't stop on Bama Insider.
No doubt about it, man. And we're having a lot of fun doing it as well. Let's get into today's show. Look, I'm one of the rare exceptions. I guess people are probably on the same bandwagon as me now, but I was never really a big fan of Alabama having a celebrity strength coach who's got a feature on 60 Minutes, and he's on Aflac commercials, and he's on the big, I'm listening, I'm at the game, and they keep playing him screaming into the microphone. I just wasn't into that. And now I know from the players they loved playing for Scott Cochran, but when he took off for Georgia, there was a part of me that felt like just saying, hey, thank you for the good work and good riddance. And since he's left, I mean, look, Alabama, I know there's going to be some people that are going to kill me for saying that, but I remember saying that off the air, for years. I'd be at the games and I'd be like, if they play this Scott Cochran yelling into the microphone, yeah thing one more time, it's like I would listen to the Howard Stern show and they would play that as a joke, constantly throughout their show, and be like, I can't stand this anymore. He's the strength guy. Get him off here, right? Well, look, he's at Georgia now. He couldn't get out of Alabama fast enough, and Alabama went out and hired the hottest commodities in strength and speed, and they went out and got David Ballou and Dr. Matt Rhea, and David Ballou handles strength. Dr. Rhea handles speed. Alabama in 2020 didn't have their quarterback get injured. They had a few things that happened, but I'll tell you what, not saying that I want to preference this. I'm not taking a shot at Scott Cochran on this. I'm just saying that those two guys on the screen right there are next level when it comes to staying healthy, getting speed and strength.
It seems like, ages ago that Scott Cochran left. It was literally around this time last year. Right? It was just the fact that 2020 lasted 15 years. So that's why it seems so long. So now, you're looking on the screen, you have Dr. Matt Rhea. I call him, he's like Dr. Speed, right? If you follow him on social media, you love the analytics. I mean, he's so smart. The things that he tweets out, you almost have to have someone smarter than you kind of interpret, what exactly he's saying. And then you have David Ballou, who's all about the strength. So I love the approach. These guys were at the IMG Academy. And as you know, it's kind of been a farm league for Alabama. You look at some of the guys that have come from IMG to Alabama and the great work that those guys have done. And then they were at Indiana, and Indiana had a nice little run there. And now here at Alabama, I mean, Nick Saban always upgrading at every single position. I love this approach. Now, it's important to know this. Now, going into this season, this is the first time that Dr. Matt Rhea and David Ballou have worked with this team for the fourth quarter program. That's what's taking place right now. So spring football starts on March 19th, like I said. But right now, what the team is doing is they're going through the fourth quarter program, and that's working with Dr. Matt Rhea, David Ballou, making sure that they're getting acclimated, they're getting ready for spring football and thereafter. And these guys have done a fantastic job. I love kind of the methodology of these guys both coming in the same time and leading this group. And just like you said, kind of in the opening, you look to the injuries for the past couple of years, and I'm not going to point all the injuries directly on Scott Cochran because things just happen. I mean, it's football, injuries happen. But from an injury prevention standpoint, these guys made that a priority coming in to Alabama, injury prevention, which I think is key. Now you add that with a new strength and science center that Alabama has added. I mean, look what they've been able to do. I mean, here's a player that we're going to talk about soon on a player profile, and that's Trey Sanders. The guy was injured in a car accident last year. Is a hip injury, right? I think it was a hip injury. They never really came out and said. I think at one point Saban said hip. That's a classic injury in a car accident. But Dr. Matt Rhea just posted a photo of this young man working out at Alabama. He said he's not cleared, but to just see him making progression, I think that that's what that strength and science center was built for, to get these guys, whatever injury it is, whether it's an ankle injury like Jalen Waddle or a hip injury, whatever it is, for these guys to be able to come back. And love the approach of these guys. The fourth quarter program is a time to build continuity, to really see what these guys are made about kind of during this time going into spring football. So Dr. Matt Rhea and David Ballou, I just kind of wanted to open up the show highlighting these two because it's a very important element for this overall football team going into 2021.
He's Kyle Henderson. I'm Mick Gillispie. Make sure you guys give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel as you hang out, and also make sure you go to BamaInsider.com to get the latest on recruiting Alabama basketball right now, which is poised to make a run in the tournament. The SEC champs, football, they're the SEC champs as well. We cover them all at BamaInsider.com. This is the first year that these guys have run the fourth quarter program. And let me just give a brief history on the fourth quarter program. Before Nick Saban got to Alabama, we had a coach named Mike Shula. Good guy, former quarterback at Alabama. Dad was a Hall of Fame coach, a Super Bowl winner with the Miami Dolphins, coached the Baltimore Colts before that. And Alabama had a knack under Mike Shula of blowing games in the fourth quarter. Right? We've had this thing since the Gene Stallings days, fourth quarter, Kyle, we put four fingers up like we're going to play this great fourth quarter. Well, it just wasn't happening when Mike Shula was coach. I don't know why. Nick Saban came in and it was a point of emphasis, finishing the football game, winning the game in the fourth quarter, not blowing the lead in the fourth quarter, not losing in the fourth quarter. Fourth quarter program starts, though, not during the game. It's not the fourth quarter of the football game. It's the extra work that you put in to be the best you can be.
Yeah, I mean, the fourth quarter program, I mean, every program, I think, does it. You lift your hand up in the fourth quarter. I mean, we even did that, back when I played football. And, I love it. It's a time. I love kind of you start out with the fourth quarter program at the beginning of the season. And look, I think that the fourth quarter program and having spring football is going to make Alabama even better, not compared to, last year, but I think in terms of getting them up to speed for that first game against Miami, because look, they didn't have spring football. They had the fourth quarter program, and then they had a kind of a strength coaching change there in the middle because Cochran left. And then you had, this new regime came in. So there was a little bit of, turbulence during that time. Then they didn't have spring football, not one practice. So I know that, things can happen between now and March 19th, but I'm fully confident that they're going to go forward with spring football. I mean, they just played a 13-game season. They're fine. So I think having that spring football is going to be great for everybody. There's 15 early enrollees, so I cannot wait to see kind of the transformation that you start to see from some of these second-year players, the early enrollees getting acclimated to the system, and then some of these seniors becoming those leaders. And we're going to talk about some of those guys coming up. But the fourth quarter program is certainly where it starts.
Alabama ready for spring practice in March, and then the 8A game in April, and then that gets you ready for football. I mean, that's what it's all about. This is going to be one of the most interesting 8A games in spring practices because we're going to find out pretty much who's poised to be the quarterback for Alabama in the 2021 season and help try to continue this role. I would say defend the national championship, and Nick Saban would yell at me for that because Kyle, it's a different team, and this really is a different team. And we got a different offensive coordinator as well. Thumbs up, guys, as you hang out with us on the BamaInsider YouTube channel today. Subscribe to the channel. You want to be in – look, let me tell you, there's a lot of choices out there. You got a lot of these other sites and all this stuff. This is the cool table. You're a part of it. Thumbs up, subscribe, come hang out, sit at the cool table at lunch and, like you used to do in high school. We're going to talk sports. We're going to high five. The cool table is all about the dynasty, and you're getting information from people who are in the know, including my man Kyle here, Andrew Bone, Tony Sukalis. I'm Mick Gillispie. All right, look. Alabama has had a habit under Nick Saban, Kyle, of losing some great coaches, but they got a great one back in Bill O'Brien. And Bill O'Brien is a former head coach at Penn State, amongst other places. And then he went to the NFL. And people might not believe this because Houston did not have a great season a year ago, but they were one of the most consistent football programs with him as the head coach. Now he's Alabama's offensive coordinator. And the players are really enjoying him being here. They replaced Steve Sarkisian with a coach that actually has a better resume.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of Bill O'Brien's philosophy calling the plays, because I think we can all agree that during last season, Steve Sarkisian was a master at that. I think there was some games that we talked about before, that Notre Dame game we kind of all point to that we didn't like, but in the national championship and pretty much for the entire season, he called a great game plan. Bill O'Brien, in terms of that, has some big shoes to fulfill, but I think as you've heard me say many times, it's kind of the offense is stemmed from when Brian DeBall was here, and it's kind of just transformed since then. But what I'm hearing, kind of from people close to the program is that, players really like Bill O'Brien and his personal approach, really getting to know the players. And I think that goes a long way. I mean, this guy isn't coming with that edge that, hey, I'm an NFL coach. You just listen to me. I think he's really trying to formulate some good bonds with these players on the offensive side of the ball, or just players in general. And I think Nick Saban, when you kind of read the statement that Nick Saban sent out about Bill O'Brien, just saying that he respects him and the job that he's done, not only at the NFL level, but as a college coach. Remember, he won the Paul Bear Bryant Award back when he was at Penn State. I believe that, Nick Saban just won that award, and that was the first time, which is kind of crazy to think that he's won that award since being in Tuscaloosa. So Bill O'Brien did a great job at Penn State, and you kind of look to that recruiting tie-in, and they already got Ty Simpson, and that's a big land early on. Remember, Bill O'Brien is going to be working with the quarterbacks as well as being the offensive coordinator, same job title that Steve Sarkisian had, and getting your first quarterback on board when there's already a crowded quarterback room, I think tells us that, they're sending the right message. Look, all it takes is one season. You heard Mac Jones recently come out, he's talked about that before. And then even Ty Simpson said, look, Mac Jones had one good season and then he's going to the NFL. And that's what these players want to do. They want to come through at Alabama, play at the highest level, practice against the best. But ultimately, players are coming to Alabama in hopes of going to the NFL. And when you have NFL coaches, whether that's Bill O'Brien, Doug Marrone, those guys can set you on the right path because they have coached at the highest level. Not to mention Nick Saban was a head football coach as well in the NFL. So you have 3 former NFL head football coaches on this staff, which is pretty incredible to think about. But then again, it's Alabama, so they continue to set the bar. But I think that Bill O'Brien, we're all going to have him under the microscope, especially in these first couple of games of the season. What is the schematic approach? How is he getting players, that can create mismatches of football? What's his approach with the quarterback? What's his approach with substituting players, things like that. It's really exciting going in every time you have a new offensive or defensive coach, but certainly all eyes will be on Bill O'Brien. And, we'll see what he does. But under Saban, Saban's continued to evolve with the offensive game, and Bill O'Brien now the new OC for the Crimson Tide.
Really is a win for Alabama. I mean, it's hard to replace guys like Lane Kiffin, like Steve Sarkisian, but to go out and get someone with this kind of experience. And then the question was, how's he going to recruit? You know, is he going to be coming from the NFL and thinking, hey, recruiting's not a big part of this? He knows it is. And the first big recruiting battle that he's won is Ty Simpson, Martin, Tennessee, a guy that if Tennessee hadn't fired Jeremy Pruitt, they probably get. Maybe they get. I mean, I'm guessing Alabama wrestled him away from the Volunteers. Ole Miss tried to get their nose in there. And Clemson, I think it was really between Clemson and Alabama when it was all said and done. But here comes Ty Simpson, and he's, you know, entering Alabama's recruiting class as a blue chip QB. You know, who knows? Right now he's a 4-star. You know, maybe he could end up as a 5-star quarterback. He's definitely one of the top players in the country. Ty Simpson, though, comes to the Crimson Tide. Dad's the head coach at Martin, UT Martin. And it really goes to show that having Doug Marrone and Bill O'Brien as Alabama's offensive coaches, 2 of them, and that to go along with Nick Saban, you mentioned it, 3 former NFL head coaches, that was the deciding factor for him.
Yeah, and one important thing to point out, he is a 5-star because what happens is you have 24/7, you have Rivals, you have ESPN. He's a 4-star, I believe, on all those sides, but with the composite that 24/7 has, it bumped him to a 5-star. So actually, Ty Simpson is ranked higher on Rivals than on 24/7, but he's a composite 5-star. So let's just call him a 5-star because he's the 23rd overall rated prospect on Rivals, and usually Rivals, by the time their rankings are finished, which will be, you know, at the end of this season, they'll have around 32, 35 5-stars. So, you know, if he's the 23rd player right now, you know, you got to think that he's going to earn that 5-star. So let's just call him a 5-star. Cause I know the first thing people in the comment box, when they saw it, they're like, you guys, you Rivals guys are against us. And they're like, no, he's actually ranked higher on Rivals, but the composite has him as a 5-star. So look, he's a 5-star. So I just wanted to point that out before we move to our next topic.
Know that. Yeah. I was curious. Well, Kyle, let's call him a 5-star then, a 5-star quarterback coming to Alabama. Yeah, look, this guy's one of the hottest players in all of, you know, of high school going into college football. I ran into him, didn't have a chance to talk to him, but I was at the same tailgate with him and his dad when Alabama and Tennessee played last year. So I was like standing right next to him. He's a big kid, you know, has that $1 million smile. And he's coming to Alabama. He knows that Bryce Young and Paul Tyson, Jalen Melrose are there, and Melrose are there, and he's coming.
Yeah, I mean, you want to come and you want to compete against the best. So I'm not surprised to see Alabama get their quarterback in early. If you look to last season, Alabama landed Drake May, who was actually a North Carolina legacy, and then he decommitted, and then people were freaking out because Alabama had only 2 commitments, and I think April, and like the world was falling and everything else was happening on top of that. And then Nick Saban ends up with the perfect season and the #1 recruiting class. So it's early. I know it's March, but you know, Ty Simpson, having him on board at this point, and just, you know, if you watched our recruiting show, which was on Tuesday, then, you know, listening to Andrew Bone saying that, you know, this is a very firm commitment that he wants to be a part of this Crimson Tide football team, then you can rest easy and, you know, feel good about adding, you know, your quarterback to your class of 2022.
Well, it's important too, because players like Ty Simpson will help you recruit the elite of the elite to come to the university. I mean, we've seen this since Nick Saban has come to Alabama. You know, you get one of these 5-star guys on board, and then they're telling the other players, hey, be part of a champion. I mean, and that's something that isn't a stretch for Alabama. As a matter of fact, every single recruiting class has won at least a championship. So, I mean, like, you get Ty Simpson on there, you know, he's just kind of part of the next wave of great players. And for Alabama to get a guy like this, he's, I'm guessing, going to help with the recruiting process.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, anytime you have your quarterback who should be your leader, he's going to go out and get, you know, other guys to pony up on the team. And when you have your quarterback already set on any other team, I think it's easier to start recruiting because you're like, hey, you got your quarterback, kind of the staple of that recruiting class. Then you can go out and start to add different elements. So yeah, a lot of guys, I know it's a small class right now, and it could be a small class overall just because of everything that's happening scholarship-wise, and we'll kind of dive into that more this summer. Hopefully the NCAA figures out something regarding the scholarship limitations, because I track all the scholarship numbers, and right now this is very important to know. Every single year, you're only allowed to have 85 on scholarship. Right now, Alabama has 90, but it doesn't matter. Alabama could have 95. They could have 100 if they wanted to. It's about 2022 that we're worried about. How is the NCAA going to adjust those numbers? Because right now, I believe the NCAA wants teams back at 85 scholarship by 2022, which could create a scholarship nightmare, considering that you have these extra years of eligibility. So we'll just have to kind of maintain that going forward. I know it's going to be a headache for everybody who tracks that stuff. I'm sure compliance is trying to figure out what exactly to do, but just something to kind of point out as we look forward.
With Kyle Henderson, I'm Mick Gillispie. Thank you for joining us on the BamaInsider YouTube channel. Thumbs up, subscribe as you hang out with us and we talk Alabama athletics. Kyle, you talk about these guys with a year of extra eligibility, and people are going to feel like Brian Robinson, the former standout from Hillcrest in Tuscaloosa, is never going to leave. He's back again, the running back for the Crimson Tide. He's a senior for the second time. Then this guy's already bringing in 52 games of experience. I see that it's increased speed and power. I'm not sold on him yet being Alabama's every down back. I mean, I just got this gut feeling that there's going to be other guys, McClellan maybe, the other Robinson, Sanders, what's he going to do? Wheaton, I mean, who knows, right? But this is Brian Robinson's second opportunity now to try to be the guy, and he's got another offseason to prepare.
Yeah, and kind of, what I've seen from Alabama in the past is that, they'll start telling you who the guys are, who the alphas are. And they've already been posting a lot of stuff about Brian Robinson, and they just don't do that with every single player. So, it's important to kind of, if you follow Alabama football as closely as, we do, I live it, eat it, breathe it. You start to notice those subtle cues, and they're really starting to push Brian Robinson. Now, just as you said right here on the screen, I mean, the stats speak for itself. 52 games played, 274 attempts, 1,300 yards, 15 touchdowns in his career. Coming back, Matt Ray, you just posted some numbers that, he's excelling, that he's improving in all areas. And look, I know there's going to be a camper out here right now is like, and just as I've said many times, like the backups are always better, right? So, and I get it. People are going to be like, you don't like Trey Sanders, do you? You don't like Jason McClellan. Look, I like all those guys. I don't know who's going to play. I'm not the offensive coordinator. I would love to have that problem, to have all those running backs in the backfield. But look, Trey Sanders isn't even cleared right now. And, we're 2 weeks away from spring football. So I would list him as not playing in spring ball. That doesn't mean that we're writing him off for the rest of his career. He still has a ton of time left here in Tuscaloosa. He already killed down the rumors that he would be transferring. As soon as he got hurt, people are like, he's transferring. And then he came out and he's like, no, I'm not. Jason McClellan, we saw splashes of greatness. And the thing is, at Alabama, you don't have to have one particular starter. And I think that's one thing that really gets Nick Saban heated is, look, Alabama has they don't have to just have 11 really good players. Alabama could have 15 or 16 starters. So maybe there's 2 starting running backs. Maybe there's 3 starting running backs. You mentioned Kellen Robinson. I mean, the guy looks like an absolute beast. Jace is a beast. Roydell Williams, Kyle Edwards, Kamar Wheaton, Trey Sanders, all those guys are going to get fed. But I think when you look to this season, Alabama is going to give Brian Robinson every single opportunity to prove that he is the man. And if he's the bell cow and he can handle the football 20 times, if they need him to, more than that, he can certainly do it. I want to see how he catches the ball out of the backfield. I want to see his speed. I think I've been with you. There's been a couple times, at least during the beginning of last season, where I was like, man, he looks kind of stuck in the mud. And then against Ohio State, I was like, man, this guy could probably go to the NFL draft. He only ran for a couple yards less than Najee Harris. And that was a very good Ohio State team. You heard what Najee Harris had to say after that game. So Brian Robinson, look, this guy's coming back. I know the backup is always better than the starter, but, Brian Robinson has all the talent. He has all the experience to really help Alabama continue to win a lot of football games.
Yeah, fumbled that football at Auburn, and he's kind of been on another level since then. So we got a whole season with him. and all the young players around him. Jaleel Billingsley, though, to me, one of my favorite players to watch. Big tight end. This guy was even returning kicks last year, but, he's able to catch the ball. He's big enough to block. He creates mismatches. I got a feeling, Kyle, that Billingsley is going to be one of the players that Alabama looks to early.
Yeah, let me see if I can play this video. Let's shut that off. I found some footage and I got it to work right here. But here's Billingsley, and you'll see just kind of to the outside what he can add. I mean, you get him on the outside edge, and the thing is, he's a tight end, right? So, kind of when we look to Bill O'Brien and what he can do utilizing a player like this, that's what I want to see. I want to see if Bill O'Brien is able to continue to get the football to Billingsley. And just like you, I think Billingsley is a real matchup problem, and I think that if David Ballou and Matt Ray work with this young man and put some weight on him, I mean, this guy could be as dynamic as the Kyle Pitts, the Eric Gilberts, the Brevin Jordans of the world. I mean, Alabama has that guy, and they really haven't. Of course, you can look that they had Irv Smith, they had OJ Howard, but look, Billingsley is a little bit different. I mean, this guy runs routes like a wide receiver, and he has that height, so he can create mismatches. I don't know where you're going to put him on the field, but Sarkisian did a good job getting him the football in different, areas. I mean, just like you said too, I mean, he was returning kicks. When's the last time a tight end, name a tight end out there that also returns kicks, right? I will save you the trouble. There's not one other than Billingsley. So I like every single thing that he brings to the table. And kind of when you look at breakout players, for this 2021 season, I know we saw a small sample size of Billingsley. I think you have to list him as one of those guys. I think there's going to be some wide receivers that step up this year. I can't wait to see the wide receivers kind of fight it out during springtime to see who can be those starters. But you have Mechie, and I think you have Billingsley, two very solid pass catchers that are returning that should be very dangerous for the quarterbacks to work with in 2021.
Yeah, you would expect those two guys to be leading targets for whoever is Alabama's quarterback. Let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball. Two guys that we're all excited about seeing in spring ball and then next year, Tim Smith at defensive tackle and William Anderson Jr., who was after the quarterback a lot last year.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with Tim Smith and talk about, his inaugural season at Alabama, really, William Anderson as well. And people are out there, that, don't like Alabama. And they're like, Alabama, the freshmen don't play there. Yeah, they do. Tim Smith had a fantastic year. He played nasty. And I think losing Christian Barmore, you're going to need a player that can get interior pass rush for the Crimson Tide because you have it coming on the outside. William Anderson, who we'll talk about in just a second. Then you have Chris Allen from the other edge. But you have to have somebody who's big, nasty in the middle of the field. And they got DJ Dell coming back. They got Fedarian Mathis. Those guys are good at stuffing the run. I think Tim Smith can stuff the run. I think he can get after the quarterback. I think he can make plays. So, yeah, Tim Smith, when you kind of look to players on the defensive side that can break out, you have to always be kind of knowing where he's at on the defensive side of the ball. And then just like you said, I mean, talking about William Anderson, I think I got some quick footage of him that I'm going to try to load as well. Give me a second on that. Let's see if I can get that in here. Yeah, William Anderson is a player who had 7 sacks last year as a freshman. I mean, Steve Sarkisian nicknamed him Terminator. And everything that we learned about him is he was breaking up so many plays during Alabama's, practice that, they just couldn't block him. And neither could a lot of teams at the college level. This guy, as a freshman, came in SEC ready, 6'4", 234 pounds, played angry, played hungry. I think there are some times where he might have missed on some plays. He might have missed a tackle or two, but, from the overall size and the speed, I can't even imagine what he can do in year 2 for the Alabama Crimson Tide. So these are only going to be second-year players. I think the defense is going to be phenomenal for Alabama this year. Tim Smith, William Anderson, 2 second-year guys to certainly watch. Of course, they return Malachi Moore, Brian Branch. Those are also second-year players on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know. Really, people are really, really excited to see Trey Sanders play. Dr. Matt Ray just shared some footage, said he looked like Ivan Drago. Remember from Rocky IV? I know Mick knows all about that. So trivia, I got some trivia for you, Mick.
Well, Drago's son was in Creed. I think it was Creed 2.
Oh, I know you love Creed. Yeah, I know we've talked about that before. No, I got some trivia though, Mick, real quick before we move on. Do you know Ivan Drago's his nickname? What they called him in Rocky 4?
What did they call him in Rocky 4? What was it? No, I don't remember.
The Siberian Express.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Death from above.
Yeah.
I mean, and look, we all know what happened to poor Apollo. So, but point is, watch for Trey Sanders to make waves. I think, everyone is excited to see, some of these year 2 players. Don't forget about Demoy Kennedy, Quindarius Robinson, other guys, itching to make their mark on the defensive side of the ball.
If you watch Creed, you'll find out that Drago's life didn't go well after Rocky beat him, and then Creed beat his son. But those movies are so good, man. Like the fact that they humanized Drago, because when I was a kid, we just thought he was just a bad dude. But then you look in the Creed and you realize, hey, look, he's just a person. All right. Anytime we can get into Rocky, I'm happy. And anytime we got you guys part of BamaInsider YouTube, we appreciate it. Thumbs up, subscribe as you hang out. He's Kyle Henderson, the managing editor of the Alabama Rival site. I'm Mick Gillispie. We're having fun tonight talking about Alabama football. And look, Kyle, we've got spring practice dead ahead. The things that we're keeping an eye on in spring practice, you got it up there. This is number one. I'm as excited about the 8A game as I've been in a long time. This quarterback battle. Bryce Young, Paul Tyson.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have 3 quarterbacks on scholarship right now at the University of Alabama. You have Bryce Young, you have Paul Tyson, and you have Jalen Milroe. What do they all have in common? Well, eligibility-wise, they're all freshmen. I know that's crazy because, Bryce has been here now going into year 2, and then you have Paul Tyson, who's been here for going into 3 seasons, and then Jalen Milroe just arrived on campus. They also have in common they're going to be playing under a new offensive coordinator, as we've talked about, under Bill O'Brien. But look, I got some sources. I talked to a lot of people. This is Bryce's team going into this season. I know you said quarterback battle. Bryce is going to have the opportunities to work with the ones. Paul is the number 2 quarterback, and Jalen Milroe is a 3rd quarterback. Now, remember, you're only one play away from getting into the game. I think that the way to focus in on this is you look at the quality of depth at the quarterback position, and you got to make sure that these quarterbacks are ready to take leadership and take hold of this offense going into the season. So it's not bad to have a really good backup. It's not a bad thing to have a really good 3rd string quarterback. The season is a gauntlet, as we all know. You want to be good 2 deep, 3 deep at every single position. I think that these quarterbacks have clearly different elements to them. We didn't get a large sample size of Bryce Young in 2020. Didn't play a lot, only 22 passes that he was able to throw. I think we saw glimpses of what he could do against Tennessee. He threw his first touchdown against Kentucky. It's kind of curious when you look to Paul Tyson. Again, going back to the backup is always better. The positives about Paul Tyson: tremendous arm strength, tremendous size. So you look to him coming into this season. People really want to see him, and now he's going to have an opportunity. He's going to have an opportunity to work with the ones, an opportunity to work with the 2s, and just like you said, he's going to have an opportunity to compete against Bryce head-to-head in springtime. Milroe is going to have that opportunity as well. But this is really important. What I want to tell you: the Alabama coaching staff has a tremendous amount of confidence in both of these quarterbacks, or just their quarterback room in general. And this is the biggest reason, because they didn't take a grad transfer quarterback. That tells us that they feel very confident in their quarterback room. And you know how the NCAA transfer portal is working. It's like free agency. So Alabama could have went out and got a quarterback with more experience just to kind of have their as a safety net, but they didn't do that. So that tells me, when you read between the lines, that they have confidence in this quarterback room, which I think is great going in. We're all itching to see Bryce command that first team offense. We're all excited to see what Paul Tyson can do when these guys get opportunities. I think that when I look at this quarterback room overall, it's young, but I think with the talent that they're going to put around them at the wide receiver position, at the running back position, you're going to have a new offensive line. Somewhat, guys are going to be shuffling around a little bit, but I think both of these quarterbacks are going to really flourish. I'm really excited for both these guys to get some opportunities.
Well, Kyle, I mean, like the offensive line, you talked about it. The best offensive lineman in a lot of people's opinions that I've talked to from last year's team on an offensive line that could be the greatest that Alabama's ever had is Evan Neal, and he's coming back. So, I mean, you're losing Alex Leatherwood, you're losing Landon Dickerson, but you're moving Evan Neal to that, that left tackle spot. He's the anchor of this team and maybe the best offensive lineman that Alabama had. And then you got all these 5-star guys coming in right around him. The offensive line, it may struggle for a bit, but you figure at some point it's going to be really good.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, honestly, Evan Neal might be the best offensive lineman Alabama has ever had. I know, like fan-wise, people probably gravitate towards Landon Dickerson, but I think overall talent, size, next level ability, Evan Neal is a future multi-millionaire. I mean, I would assume that he's a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. Remember, this guy came in as a freshman from the IMG Academy and played every single game as a true freshman at the guard position at 6'7", 360. And then last year he rotated to right tackle, started every single game, and now he moved to left tackle, his natural position. That's where your better tackle will be with Alex Leatherwood leaving. So, man, talk about an anchor for the offensive line. You add Emil Ekiyor, you add Chris Owens. I'm sure that there's going to be a great battle for the tackle position between, Tommy Brown and J.C. Latham and Javon Cohen. And then you got to figure out who your right guard's going to be, maybe Tommy Brown or TJ Ferguson or someone else that we're not even talking about. But look, the offensive line, there's so much talent and a lot of quality depth that I'm really excited to see those position battles, as well as that wide receiver, who's going to step up outside of Mechie coming into the season. But you're right. I mean, Evan Neal, probably one of the, pound for pound best linemen to ever play at Alabama. I know it's hard to say because he's only entering year 3, but watch the tape, watch the film. This guy screams top 5 NFL pick in the 2022 NFL draft.
You talk about best position player at a certain spot. How about cornerback Patrick Surtain? And he's gone, he'll be maybe a first-round pick in the NFL draft. Alabama now has to figure out that secondary, those cornerback spots. That's going to be interesting. That's Nick Saban's position. He coaches that spot. Alabama's future, hey, look, they got a lot of 4-star guys in that spot. Isn't Kool-Aid a 5-star guy? So, I mean, they got some talent coming in.
Yeah, and look at Josh Jobe. I mean, he's clearly been in the weight room. This was like a year or 2 ago. I mean, yeah. So you got Josh Jobe coming back. So he's going to be your 100% one of the starters at corner. And then you're going to have a true battle for the opposite side. Now, names to know, you talked about him, Kool-Aid, JaQuincy McKinstry. I heard he's been having a fantastic kind of early on showing. Now then they're not working out, so it's kind of hard to say like how good he actually is going against college competition. But JaQuincy has abilities. You have Jalen Armour Davis out of Mobile, Alabama. Another name to know, you have Marcus Banks. Keep tabs on Ronald Williams. He's a junior college transfer that had an arm injury last year, and then I think that Kyrie Jackson, who will be a summer enrollee, he's another junior college transfer. I think that kind of just watching his tape and seeing that he's a bigger corner, 6'3", maybe 200 pounds, I feel that he's going to be the guy that ultimately wins that job. I don't know. There's going to be, there's plenty of talent as we just talked about, but keep an eye on Kyrie Jackson. Watch his tape. I mean, I'll see if I have a clip real quick of him because he has a lot of athletic ability and he's a bigger corner. I think, as you look to college corners, you want them to have a little bit of that size. And Kyrie Jackson certainly has that size. Here we go. I think I have it right here. So Kyrie Jackson right here on the corner edge, reads the ball pretty easy, takes it to the house. I think you're going to see up here, he's on the top of your screen. You're going to see him come in and you're going to see him lay the absolute wood on that young man. So Kyrie Jackson is not in the 4th quarter program right now, but he is going to be coming in the summertime. And we'll let this roll one more time and see him deliver that bone-crushing hit to this poor young man up at the top of your screen. So Kyrie Jackson coming in, really excited about his overall play and what he brings to the table. So plenty of things to watch as we go into spring football.
How excited are you about spring football, Kyle?
I'm pumped. I love spring football. I love March and April. It's kind of a good mix of a lot of work and a lot of golf because the weather's good. And then you kind of get that back end of April and you get those big thunderstorms and a couple, you turn on the weather radio and you turn on James Spann because, now living in Tuscaloosa, I'm accustomed to those big southeastern storms, but it's all good because it means more football during the springtime. And, we'll continue to hit it hard right here on Bama Insider.
That's right. Bama Insider, BamaInsider.com, your spot right here on our YouTube channel as well to find out the latest information on the Crimson Tide, whether you're talking recruiting or Alabama's rival site. We got you covered there. Alabama basketball getting set for a run through the NCAA tournament. Can they follow suit with Alabama football and win it all? Well, they're halfway there. They won the SEC. We'll keep you covered as far as that's concerned as well. A couple more regular season games and then actually one, and then the SEC tournament in Nashville and then the NCAA, but Alabama football won it all. Maybe Alabama basketball can do the same thing. He's Kyle Henderson. I'm Mick Gillispie. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. And don't forget, tomorrow, Andrew Bone will be on. He'll have his show, part of our Bama Factor coverage. Then on Friday, Trey Sanders. Maybe he'll bring on Fluffopotamus, one of the hottest names in all of Alabama basketball. He's the guy that leads Crimson Chaos. And he comes on and talks basketball. Basketball, hot commodity right now with Alabama winning the SEC. All right, so for Kyle, I'm Mick. Thanks for watching, guys. Roll Tide.